Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Faster Law webinar series. Today we're doing episode 13, How to Work Through the Coronavirus. So we actually were originally going to we're going to cover some tech mistakes that firms make today, but we decided that it might be more relevant and useful if we did a quick webinar on the coronavirus here. And we actually pushed back the tech mistakes to next week. So if you're here for that one, I apologize. Check back next week, and we will be covering those tech mistakes that we see a lot of law firms making. But today we will be covering working remotely and that sort of thing for the coronavirus. As always, I am your host. My name is Andrew Suter, and I provide direct support for Faster Law. I'll be guiding you through the webinar today, and if you have any questions throughout the webinar, go ahead and type them into that chat box at the bottom there. You can type in your questions at any time, and at the end of the webinar, I will take the time and go back and answer any questions that you may have at that time. So type them in whenever you want. I'll answer them at the end. But again, today's episode is how to work through the coronavirus. At Faster Law, we all work remotely, and because of I guess a lot of restrictions on like gathering and meeting in person, that sort of thing, a lot of law firms are getting a little bit crippled and frantically trying to figure out how to work remotely. So we just wanted to share a lot of the things that we do to work remotely, as well as some things that we have seen other firms doing to work remotely as well. So things that seem to work really, really well. These are just kind of some basic things that we're going to cover. There may be other things that your firm is doing, or you might have some issues that we're not going to cover here. If you do have anything like that, feel free to type a question into the chat box. I might be able to answer your questions. Or if you have any suggestions of things that we could add, we actually have an article on our website here about how to work in a virtual office. So if you have any suggestions of things that we could add to this list, let us know, and we'll get them added to this article so we can maybe help some other people out as well. But as far as what we're going to cover today, basically we're going to want to use a good laptop. We're going to want to use Clio and Faster Suite, TeamViewer for remotely accessing computers, a voice over IP phone system. We'll use video conferencing for virtual meetings, and then an electronic signature app. These tools here will basically lay the groundwork to do just about everything that you probably would do in the office, just remotely from home or wherever you're working. So again, we're going to be following along with this article here. Whoops, there we go. So I'll kind of be referring back to this. I'll show you a few things in other places, but let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the first thing that we have on this list is use a good laptop. This is really, really important. One thing that we've noticed here is a lot of firms will have in their office pretty good business class computers that can run all of the things that they want to run. Now, when we are transitioning now to working remotely, since it's not something that was usually planned on, what's happening is a lot of firms are saying just use your personal computer that you have at home. Just about everybody has a laptop or a PC at home that they use for whatever. Now, the problem with this is a lot of those home computers, people will buy kind of like a budget PC that is going to serve their purposes for what they do at home. It's going to be things like I use Facebook or I use Instagram or YouTube. You probably have a computer at home that can run those things, but what we're running into is a lot of people don't have computers that can run the things that they use for work, Faster Suite, maybe some document automation stuff that you have, all kinds of things that you use on your work computer that your home computer might not be able to handle. If that's the case, you're going to see some slowness. You might see some issues with things not working, that sort of thing. So we do recommend making sure that your laptop or your PC is up to snuff. And so we have some recommendations on that. If we go over to our article here, we'll see number one is use a good laptop. And really what we're looking at is the specifications for three things. We're going to be looking at RAM, your processor, and your hard drive. If you have a computer that meets these specs right here, you're probably going to be okay. Even if it's like slightly on the lower end, you're probably okay. If you're kind of way off of these specs here, you're going to see some slowness, you're going to see some problems, but this is what we recommend. So the way to check this is to actually go to your task manager. You can hit Control-Alt-Delete and go to task manager, but the way I do this is to just right-click on your start bar down here. You right-click there, and there's a button that says task manager. Now, when it pops up, it's probably going to look like this. So if you don't see a bunch of tabs across the top there, you can click this More Details button, and that will expand this window. Once it's expanded, we're going to take a look at the Performance tab. When I click on performance, you'll see it gives us a lot of different specs here. And this is where we can check what sort of hardware we have in our computer. Number one on our specifications is 16 gigs of RAM. We're going to be able to view RAM in this window here by clicking on memory. So you can see I have 15.9 gigabytes of RAM on this computer. I'm using about 10 of it right now. So I have enough to really fuel what I'm trying to do on my computer here. As you do different things, this number percentage and this number here will go up and down. But total, we're going to want probably 16. If you have 8, you're probably going to be okay. You might be a little bit low in some cases, but 16 should be enough for just about anything that you want to do on a work computer. If you don't have enough RAM, RAM is really easy to install. Down here, you can see slots used. I'm using 2 of 2. I have 2 8-gigabyte RAM sticks in this computer. So I can't add more. I would have to replace this with a bigger RAM stick or something. But if you're on a PC, really easy to replace this. RAM is fairly cheap as well. So if this is the only spot where you're lacking, pretty easy to upgrade. You might just go to a computer place where they can do that. It should be fairly cheap. Now, besides that, we're also going to want a processor. So we recommend an Intel i7 processor. This is basically the standard for business class computers right now. There are faster ones out there. i9 is the most recent in the Intel series right now. But we can just click on CPU to see what we have. And we'll see that I have an Intel Core i7 processor in this computer. If you have something like an i5, again, probably going to be pretty okay in most situations. If you have something like an i9, that's going to be overkill. That's more than you probably need. i7 is going to be the best bang for your buck right now. If you have something that's not in the Intel series here, it doesn't say i3, i5, i7. It says something like AMD or something else. You can really easily just like do a Google search of like processor benchmarks, and pretty much just compare your processor to an i7. And if they're comparable or you have a better processor, then you should be good. If you have something less than an i7, you might want to look at upgrading. Processors are a lot harder to replace than RAM is. So at that point, you might look at actually upgrading your laptop or your PC. Now, the third portion of this, if we go back to our article, is you want to have a solid state drive. This is, I would say this is not negotiable. Solid state drives are way, way, way faster than actual hard drives, like spinning disk drives. They function actually more like a flash drive than a spinning disk. So if you think of like spinning a CD, that's what a hard drive does. A solid state drive is like when you plug in a flash drive. It doesn't spin. It just reads and writes off of a chip there. So it's way faster. You can check that by going to disk here. I actually have 2 solid state drives installed on this computer. But like if I click on this one, you can see it says SSD in the description here. If yours says SSD, you probably have a solid state drive. If it doesn't say that up there and it looks something like this, you can just Google this number and it'll tell you basically what model of drive that is. If it's a solid state drive, you're good. If it's a hard drive, take a look at upgrading. Installing a new hard drive or a new solid state drive is, again, not as easy as RAM, but it can be done. Again, though, if you have more than one of these things that needs to be upgraded, it's probably going to be better to just upgrade your computer than try to replace components of your computer. So these are our recommended specifications. All 3 of these things are going to affect what processes run on your computer and how well they run. Or not necessarily what processes run on your computer, but it will affect how well every process runs. Things that are more resource intensive, like if we go over to our processes tab in the task manager, we can see that right now Zoom is taking up 12% of my processing power. If we go to memory, Google Chrome is almost always going to be on top there. Faster Suite is almost going to be always second. So you can take a look at what is using how much of your computer's resources on this processes tab and see how much of those resources you actually have on the performance tab. Now, if your computer meets those specs, great, you're good to go. If not, we have some recommendations on laptops that you could purchase here that meet those specs. So if we scroll up here in this article, our first recommendation is this HP Spectre laptop. So if I click on that, it'll take us to Best Buy's website. This is an HP Spectre with an i7, 16 gigs of memory, and a 512 gigabyte solid state drive. We'll see it's $1,600 here for this laptop. We use these at Faster Law. They are great. We love them. If you get one of these, you're going to be happy with it. It is, a little bit pricey, and that's because we're getting a laptop with all of this stuff in it. So if you were to get a PC, it's going to be a little bit cheaper. Laptops, they just have to squeeze smaller components into smaller laptops, so they get a little bit more expensive that way. But again, a PC would be a little bit cheaper if you don't want to get one of these laptops that we recommend. So HP Spectre, our number one recommendation with the specifications that we mentioned earlier. Besides that, we also use here, sorry, 1 second here. Not sure what is going on with my Chrome there. There we go. So if you don't want to get an HP Spectre, we also use Microsoft Surface Pro 7s. These are also really, really great. We like them a lot. We use them here. These ones, you'll see it's slightly cheaper at $1,500, but that's because it has a 256 gigabyte solid state drive instead of a 512. But we still have an i7 and we still have 16 gigabytes of RAM. So this is another option that we use, that we have tried, that we would recommend. Works really well. Again, if you don't want either of these, just look for a PC or a laptop that meets these specs and also runs Windows 10. You should be good to go. One thing that we recommend against is the Surface Pro X or the Surface Pro 10. I'm not sure whether it's an X or a 10. But these Surface Pros actually have a new kind of processor that isn't compatible with all applications. So we would definitely recommend against getting a Surface Pro 10. If you want a Surface Pro, go with the 7. Those work really, really well. But again, as long as it meets these specs and has Windows 10, you should be good. So that's, I would say, probably the main thing with working remotely is making sure you have a machine that can actually work remotely. Once you have that machine, probably the best thing to do is just use Clio and Faster Suite. Everything stored in Clio is going to be in the cloud. If you're using Faster Suite to access your documents, you can access them from anywhere. Really great. So you just basically log into Clio through your web browser. It's going to be the same as if you logged in from work. Install Faster Suite on that computer. And again, it'll be just like you're working from work since everything is stored in the cloud. Now, one thing I'll mention with this is Faster Suite licenses. We do these per person and not per computer. So if you already have Faster Suite installed at work, you can install Faster Suite on your home computer and use it there as well with the same license. It'll only allow you to use it in one place at a time. So if you log in at home, it's going to log you out at work. But you can use it in both places, just one at a time. So with everything stored in the cloud, you'll have access to everything that you would normally have access to working from work. This is going to be different than if you just have everything stored on like a file server at work. That's going to be a little bit more difficult because you actually have to connect to your computer at work to get those files. You might think about migrating everything into Clio. That way everyone can get them just from any computer. Or if not, we have a couple of suggestions on how to work that way as well. And that's this next point here, using TeamViewer for remote access. So if you're not able to put everything in the cloud and you do need to use your work computer, TeamViewer is going to be a really great resource for this, for basically just connecting to your work computer from your home computer. So TeamViewer is actually what we use to connect remotely to your computer if we're troubleshooting or looking at a bug or you have a suggestion. We're going to connect to your computer through TeamViewer. And it works really, really well. It gives you a lot of control. You can do basically anything on that computer remotely that you would be able to do right in person. So the website for this is teamviewer.com. It is free to use for personal use. So all you have to do is on your work computer, go to teamviewer.com, click this download for free button, install it on your work computer, then go to your home computer, also teamviewer.com, download for free and install it there. You do need it installed on both computers. You would then just leave your work computer running with TeamViewer running as well. And then you can connect to it from your home computer. So I'll show you what this looks like here. This screen is TeamViewer. So from this screen, this is what I have on my home computer. If I want to connect to my work computer, I just use the ID number that it gives me on the work computer and type it in up here. So you'll see it gives you an ID and a password. The ID number on the work computer is the one that we're going to want to be using. And as far as the password goes, this password is randomly generated every so often, so it does change. You'll probably want to set up a static password so you don't have to keep checking what the password is here. You can do that by going to Extras and then Options. And in the Options panel, you will have a Security tab where you can set up a custom password. So this is something that you will do on the work computer. You'll set it to something that you can remember, hit OK, and then you'll be able to connect to that computer by typing its ID number up here. I'm actually going to do this. I do have an office computer that I can connect to. When I hit connect, it's going to pop up and ask me for the password. I have set a static password on that computer, so I'll just type that in and hit log on. And we'll see that it actually connects me to that computer. So this is my office computer. You'll see I have Faster Suite running on it. I actually am logged in under a different account than I have on my home computer, which is why I can run it in both places simultaneously. But again, we can just do anything that we could do on this other computer just right from our home computer. So if putting stuff in the cloud and accessing it that way is not possible, TeamViewer is going to be the way to go to actually connect to your work computer. Again, anything that you want to do. If you have multiple screens, there'll be a button here that you can use to switch between screens. Really, really great. It gives you complete control of the computer that you're connected to. So really useful. Again, the better option, though, is going to be to use Clio and Faster Suite to get stuff in the cloud. But if not possible, TeamViewer is our recommendation for remote access. So that stuff covers pretty much like how to work on your computer. But another big part of working remotely is still going to be talking to people, meeting with people. And since there are a lot of restrictions in place and a lot of people don't want to actually meet face-to-face right now, we're going to need a way to work around that remotely. Number one is we're probably going to want to use a voice over IP phone system. The reason for this is if we are just using like our normal phone system at work, it's not a voice over IP. The phone number that people dial to get a hold of you is going to go to that work phone. You're working remotely, and probably what you would have to do is just use like your cell phone or your home phone if you have one, or just like route your calls from your work phone to those other phones. Not the most elegant solution for this, but it would work if that's what you have to do. Now, a voice over IP is going to work much better. So there are a couple that we suggest for this. If we go back to our article here, at Faster Law, we used to use Skype. It worked really, really well. What's nice about Skype is you can get it on like any of your devices. You can run Skype on your computer. You can run Skype on your phone, your cell phone, I mean. And no matter where you dial from, no matter where you answer the phone, it's going to be using the same phone number. So you have to pay for each additional phone number. But basically, if you get a call at your work number that you have set up through Skype, it's going to go to your computer. It's going to go to your cell phone. You can answer from anywhere. You can also dial out from anywhere, and it'll show up as that phone number on whatever phone that you call. So Skype works really, really well. But we are actually in the process of transitioning to Wix Answers. So Wix Answers is it's like a full service phone system. It manages inbound and outbound calls. You can do separate phone numbers. You can do like automated call trees. So when people call in, they can press 1 or press 2, whatever to get routed. It also manages like all of your contacts, that sort of thing. Wix Answers is really great. We love it so far. And it's another good option if you want to be able to access that same phone number from any location. So you can do it on your home computer, and you're still using that same work number that you would have in the office. Two really good solutions for that. Otherwise, you might end up giving out your cell phone number to people, or having to set up some weird elaborate routing system that just doesn't really work that well. These are the two that we've used. We also have seen people use RingCentral, Vonage, Microsoft Teams. Other people seem to really like those. We've never used them, but if you're looking around, these might be some other ones to check out. Again, these two we've used. We like them. These ones other people seem to like. So voice over IP phone system, going to be pretty important for just simplifying your call system. Now, in addition to that, you're probably going to want a good video conferencing app. And this is because it's not really the same talking to someone over the phone as it is like sitting in a meeting and talking to them in person. So if you're trying to set up that initial consult, we would recommend doing that as a virtual meeting instead of a phone call. It's going to be a lot more personal. It's going to be a lot more like you're actually just sitting there with them. For this, we actually use Zoom, which is actually what we're using right now for this meeting here. I could actually switch this from sharing my computer screen to sharing my webcam, and you guys could actually see me sitting here talking. This is going to be really great for any time you would want to meet with a client in person. You can just meet with them virtually. You don't have to worry about spreading a virus, that sort of thing. Zoom is really great for this. It does everything that we want it to do. And what's really nice is the person that you're meeting with doesn't actually have to install Zoom. You can actually just send them a link, and it will let them connect through their web platform here. They can then dial in from their phone, or if they have a headset for their computer, they can do it that way. So they don't actually have to install anything, which is really nice. You just send them a link, they connect, and you can get started there. If they have a webcam, they can turn that on, and you can see them as well. But completely not necessary. This would just kind of take the place of like a video call. Zoom also can automatically record everything, so you don't need to like record the session or anything like that, which is really nice. You'll always have that recording to go back to. Again, Zoom is what we use. There are other applications out there. GoToMeeting comes to mind. I've never used it. I haven't talked to anyone that's used it, but that might be another option for you to take a look at. Really, any video conferencing app should be good for this sort of thing. Again, Zoom is our recommendation, which is just zoom.us. It is a paid application, but if you're working remotely, you're going to want something like this for those in-person meetings. Now, one thing that Zoom can't do is get signatures on documents. You can't like hand a person a piece of paper to sign through your computer there. And that's where this last point comes in, using an electronic signature app. We recommend DocuSign. And the reason we recommend DocuSign, we've actually never used it. We don't actually have to have people sign things. But the reason we recommend DocuSign is because Clio has an integration for it. If we go into Clio and go to the integrations tab over here, and then click on, or into the search bar, we just type in DocuSign, it'll pull up the DocuSign integration here. So DocuSign will let you share documents, and it'll let people sign them virtually from their phone or their computer or their tablet, wherever they access that document. So you just basically send them a document, they click the button to sign it, and they can send it back to you with a signature. So that way we don't have to meet up for, signing whatever document you need people signed. I have never actually sent out documents to be signed by DocuSign, but I've been on the receiving end of them, and it works really well on that end. You just basically sign once, and then you click everywhere you want to put that signature. Really great, really easy. It even like jumps you right to all the spots where you need to sign. So using DocuSign with the Clio integration it sounds like, from what I've seen from other firms, sounds like it works pretty seamlessly, works really well, and you can get all your signatures this way. Now, again, DocuSign is going to be a paid service, but it's going to allow you to work completely remotely, if you're using all of these other things here. So if you actually put all this stuff together, there shouldn't really be any reason to ever have to leave to do anything except like going to court and that sort of thing, which I think court is postponed in a lot of places right now anyway. But this stuff will get you on track to work remotely. So if everyone at your firm is doing all this stuff, especially Clio and Faster Suite, video conferencing, those things are going to be huge for working from home. Again, this is just basic stuff. There might be some specific needs that your firm has that aren't met by these things. If that's the case, let us know. We might have some recommendations, or if you have suggestions on what you've done to overcome those things, let us know, and we'll get them added into our article here. Which, by the way, this article is available at help.fasterlaw.com. You can just go in here and just type virtual office in the search box at the top. And it's this one right here, the Totally Virtual Office. That'll get you all this information that we have put together here. Additionally, you can also check out this webinar after the fact in our webinar archive, which is also available in our Help Center. From the main Help Center page, it's going to be down here, Faster Law Webinar Archive. So this will be posted later today. So a couple of good ways to come back and reference this. Now, as far as that goes, I'm going to go ahead and jump into questions. If I didn't explain anything well enough, you want to see a little bit more about one of these applications that we're using, now would be a good time to ask. We do have plenty of time left. I have an hour scheduled out for this, and this took about 20 minutes. So if you guys have questions, now is a good time. I will look back here to see what questions we have. One person sent in a processor model here. So let's take a look at what we've got. Or is this a hard drive? Nope, this is a processor. So we can just do something like this. If we just take the processor model that we pulled out of our task manager, we just grabbed that from right here on this person's computer. We just type that in there and then just say like verse Intel i7 or something. And we'll get something like this right here. This will actually compare the two processors here. Now, I've never used this specific site. Let's see if we can find a different one that is a little bit easier to read. CPU World, maybe. Okay, so there's a review of each of them. Here's some advantages of the Xeon processor that you're using there. And then we'll get something that looks like this. Here's the i7 versus the Xeon in the number of cores. The i7 has 12 cores, the Xeon has 4. Operating frequency is about the same. I actually don't know exactly what this is, but this cache, L2 plus L3 cache, the i7 is better. They are fairly comparable processors, it looks like. So this is how you would really tell that. Here's also a pros and cons summary. So it looks like CPU World is a good place to do this, to compare two different processors. But if you just Google it, you'll find all kinds of different things here. You might even find some forums where people can give you like really specific kind of layman term explanations of which processor is better, that sort of thing. But just Google's your best friend for things like this. Just go ahead and Google your processor there. Let's see here. I have a question here. It says, should you turn on the faster suite setting for use same settings on all my computers before using on the new laptop? Yes, you should. What Wendy's referring to here is if we go to faster suite and then click on settings, we can go down to advanced and then group policies across the top. That's the setting here. My settings should roam between any computers I use. This is going to be checked by default. So unless you have turned this off, it should be turned on. And when you load faster suite on your new computer, it should automatically pull your settings from your previous computer. So if you're installing it fresh on your home computer, it'll pull all your work computer settings unless you have unchecked this setting on your work computer. But good question. Yes, this will need to be checked unless you want to go through and actually reset all of your settings, which could be a little bit tedious. Looks like there are no other questions right now. Oh, here comes one. Migrating away from Clio to another practice management geared for injury law, can we still use Faster Suite? Faster Suite, unfortunately, is only integrated with Clio. You actually need to have a Clio login to log into Faster Suite. We don't integrate with any other practice management system, so only with Clio. If you do that, we do have some things that can help you pull all of your stuff out of Clio. But if you wanted to use Faster Law, you would have to stay with Clio. Mark, if that's something you're interested in switching and needing to pull your stuff out, just send me a message. I can help you get your information out of Clio or possibly find ways to work around whatever issues you have with Clio. I will pause here and see if any other questions come in a few moments here. Looks like nothing else is coming in right now. If you guys do think of any questions that didn't come to mind while watching this, go ahead and email us at help@fasterlaw.com and we'll get an answer out for you. But let's go ahead and jump into the rest of this stuff here. So a few other things I'd like to mention. Number one, if you're not currently using Faster Suite, we do have a free trial available at fasterlaw.com/download. One thing I want to mention here with this is we actually just started a promotion. If you're not using Clio either, and you're like on a trial with Clio right now, let us know because we'll actually give you a discount on Faster Suite if you purchase Faster Suite, and it influences your decision to purchase Clio. So if you're thinking about Clio, you're thinking about Faster Suite, let us know. We'll see about getting you a discount there on Faster Suite. Again, our webinar archive is at this URL here. So if you missed today's webinar or you want to take a look at any of our past webinars, this is where you can do it. If you like these webinars, you like Faster Suite, definitely tell your friends. The best compliment that we can get is a referral. So if you think the webinars are helpful, spread the word. If you know another firm that's using Clio but not Faster Suite, let them know. They'll thank you when Faster Suite saves them a bunch of time and hopefully makes them more money, that sort of thing. But for anything that you guys need, email us at help@fasterlaw.com. Anything related to Faster Suite, you can email us there. And actually, it looks like we did have a couple of more questions come in. So I am going to jump back into that really quickly here. One question is, can you use the Clio demo and the Faster Suite free demo together at the same time? Yes, you can. As long as you have a login for Clio, you can use the Faster Suite trial as well. So once you're set up with your Clio demo, just go to fasterlaw.com/download, pick up the free trial, and you'll just log in with your temporary Clio credentials there. You can use Faster Suite as long as you have access to Clio. I have another question here. It says, do you know if courts accept DocuSign? I actually do not. I would assume yes, because I know a lot of firms that use DocuSign, but I can't say 100%. That might be a good question for your local court, or you can always call DocuSign and see if they know. Again, if you just go to like that DocuSign integration page on Clio, you should have the DocuSign contact information there. Let's actually take a look really quick at DocuSign, or you can just go to docusign.com. But if you go to the integration page in Clio, you can go to product information. This will probably actually just take us to just takes you to their website. I would contact their sales team or their support team, and that would be a good question for them. But I would assume yes, not 100% on that though. Another question regarding using Faster Suite with the Clio demo. You don't have to purchase Faster Suite to use it with the Clio demo. You can use our trial with the Clio trial. And it looks like Mark answered that question to me about courts accepting DocuSign. It looks like it's subject to local court rules, which is kind of what I was thinking, but again, not 100% sure. Mark sounds a lot more confident on that than I am, so that is probably the case. But again, I would just check with your local court, check with DocuSign, maybe they can tell you. I will pause again to see if any other questions come up here. And nothing is coming in so far, so I'll go ahead and jump ahead again. We covered this stuff here. So let's take a look at what's coming up next. Again, next week, we're going to be doing the common tech mistakes made by law firms. We were going to do that this week, but the coronavirus stuff seemed a little bit more relevant, so we did decide to push it back. So sorry about that if you were looking for the tech mistakes. That is next week on 3/25, and that is currently the only webinar that we have scheduled right now. We will have more coming up after that, though, so check back next week, and we'll get you an updated roadmap for what we're doing for webinars. If you guys do have any other questions, again, help@fasterlaw.com is going to be the best place to send those questions. But thanks for coming. Hopefully the information we covered today will help your firm get set up to work remotely. Again, if you guys have specific circumstances that we didn't cover here, let us know. We might be able to make some recommendations. But otherwise, we will see you guys next time. Thanks for coming. Stay well. Don't get sick. Washing your hands, not touching your face are just some general things that seem to be recommended by health organizations and things like that. So wash your hands, don't touch your face. Here's some stuff to work remotely. Let us know if you have any questions or if there's anything we can do. Thanks for coming, and you guys have a good rest of the week. Thanks, guys. Bye.